I think people have become too normal for their own good. I come across a lot of people, and uh, a lot of people they come across me because they are struggling. They're struggling in their life and how they do things. And when they're struggling in their life and how they do things, they are likely bleeding onto others and causing others to not want them to be bleeding on them, right? And so they get restraining orders, or they tell you, "Hey, stop including me in your circle, please," right? And when this idea of normal has been that we should be medicating ourselves on every level for everything that happens. And I mean, some people are choosing medication of entertainment, or a medication of pills from pharmaceutical industries that are focused on profit rather than health. Because I mean, with the billions of dollars that has been invested into the medical system, you think some solutions would have been recognized? I mean, there are solutions that are recognized for those who seek, right? Because you have to seek to know. If you're advertised it might come at a price. And if you're constantly looking for somebody somewhere else to tell you how to live your life, you'll find it. But it comes at a cost, right? And that cost can be substantial. That cost can be of your peace, of your calmness, of your money, of your health and wealth, right? So how much are you willing to spend on living life? I mean, are you in a position that you want to be in, or do you feel that you have to be in it? How is life happening for you instead of to you? But we have to recognize it's the choices that we make that determine the outcomes that we experience. And it's a cumulative set of choices, right? At one point in time, there was intention placed towards something more desirable, right? I mean, that's kind of cool. You didn't use anything but intention and time, and it turned into that from what that was, right? And both of them are okay. I mean, that one, you can access dirt, you can still find rocks in it, you can, it's not a final elevation of what I'm wanting to see in my life, so I don't really care about how it is until it is the way I want it to be, right? And once I put the things into my life the way I want them to be, they become that. And they become that for a long time. And they serve purpose, they serve benefit. And you can see that things grow a little bit closer to where the rocks are stacked, because that's providing a source of water, nourishment, condensation. And all of this stays in place until one day somebody comes by and runs into it with a backhoe, right? And knocks it all down. But I know that when I get tired of seeing it in a knocked down state, I'll dig it all out and I'll just restack them. It'll probably only take me an hour, maybe a half an hour. It'll be a video for the future, maybe, right? I don't know if anybody ever really watches them, but it is what it is. It's what I spend my time doing, and it's this way of us spending our time in a way that we want to see the world become, that it becomes it. And I guess where I'm really going with this is that normal has been advertised to us, right? And normal is full of people paying to exist on every level in an area that's been created for them, that is in the idea of perfection. I mean, even though like a wall in a house is just some sheetrock, basically like hardened mud, it seemingly needs to be done to perfection. So they hire a professional, and you're going to pay hundreds of dollars for something that could be fixed. I mean, for all of its intended purposes, something that could be fixed for nothing. A little bit of wet mud, you stack it in a hole, and then you let it dry, and it becomes that. But normal has been advertised to us in a way that when anything else is presented as an option, it's almost seen as offensive, right? I mean, like out here, I don't have sidewalks because I think it's actually counterproductive for us to always be walking on a totally flat surface. It's not natural. There's always obstacles in nature, and when you're constantly navigating obstacles, you're better able to navigate what you're doing right now. You're always a little more aware of what's happening right now. Your body's consistently seeking balance and growth, right? I mean, because sometimes I'll be down here watching the fish or playing around, and then I get an inclination to explore. And so I explore, and I run up and down hills, and I create little cool things, and I live my life free and natural instead of normal at a fee. But I still have people coming by every once in a while and saying, hey, we're going to steal your stuff if you don't give us money. And so then I have to pay the county because somebody somewhere voted that, yep, I want public education systems that are going to steal a lot of our money and try to turn our kids into things that they aren't, and work outside parental consent, to achieve these things. This is a little project that we're just kind of playing with some ideas before we do the final assembly. We found that cutting the wood is definitely a better option than just leaving the rounds. You get them tighter, and when it dries out, it's not going to form a crack that you weren't anticipating. But this isn't normal. Are you kidding me? Who the hell builds their house out of wood? Right? I mean, yeah, that's silly. Who the heck uses recycled bricks for flooring? Right? Or who has a whole trailer of recycled bricks over there for flooring in a patio? Right? These are all things just kind of gathered from the earth, brought to the surface. Place to hang my hammock. Out of the sun, out of the wind. Maybe even having a wood stove to be out of the cold. That's all you really need. We've got this idea that everybody has to have their own shower available to them all the time, even though they're at work most of the time. Right? And everybody has to have their own toilet that gets flushed twice a day. And everybody has to have their living room because that's, of course, where you do your living. And everybody has to have a kitchen because that's, of course, where you do all the cooking, right? Which, I mean, some of these things are handy, but some of these things could also be done in a different way that wouldn't be so expensive to provide or maintain, and actually work in a little bit better way for everyone, especially if you're poor. I mean, if you're rich, sure, you can have everything you want, and I mean, shit, have 12 of them. Who cares? But if you're struggling paying month to month and you have a fear of homelessness, we have to ask ourselves, is it normal for us? I mean, for how long in human history have people paid like at least a third of their income every month or every day, basically, just to have a place to sleep securely, right? And then they spend their day at the job, keeping them just over broke, so they have to come back tomorrow and make sure you make more money, right? Because money is the name of the game, and money is a great tool as long as people believe in it, because it allows me to go make my money at the rate that I can make my money, and then it allows me to spend my money how I wish. Maybe if somebody offers me a service that isn't the value of my services, that's why we wouldn't exchange like an hour for an hour, right? Because maybe it's taken me decades to learn what I know, whereas theirs is a simple labor. Anyway, this idea of normal. It's normal to have a job. It's normal to have a car that you have to have a brand new car, so that way you don't have any maintenance issues. But I know a lady who just bought a brand new car, hybrid, and less than 500 miles on it, she's already had to take it back into the dealership. I was like, wow. I said, I told her, I said, my 1992 Ford F-250 out there has never been to the dealership since I've owned it. And you could tell she's a little bit perturbed with that statement, because my old ugly truck, capable of doing a lot of things, that isn't afraid to get dirty or scratched or dented, is working better than her perfect new little Honda hybrid that's really quiet. Well, it's so quiet that it has to make its own noises when it backs up, right? So I'm like, well, my truck, it already makes noise, and so when people hear it, they just get out of the way, right? I mean, because that's how nature works. I mean, like I was walking through these hills one day, and then all of a sudden I heard a big and I said, oh, that sounds like a rattlesnake. And so I stopped, because I didn't want to go any closer to where that was coming from. And I looked around, and I seen a giant big western rattlesnake. And I mean, he was all coiled up, but I mean, I've seen enough snakes to know that if he was uncoiled, he was probably over 8 feet. And I realized, I'm like, you know what? This is a big place out here, and I don't have to go right where you're hanging out. I'm like, thanks for warning me that I was risking stepping on you and disturbing your nap. But yeah, hey, thanks a lot, and have a good day. Sometimes people just go up there and kill them because they're like, oh my God, it's a rattlesnake. But how rude is that? He warned you, saying, hey, you're entering my space. Go somewhere else. And instead of just honoring his space where he was already, they trespass and then they go murder him. That's rude, right? And then I believe in karma, so we get what we put out, basically. I mean, if you build a shit show, you gotta expect to be swimming in it. But if you build kindness, which is kind of the opposite of what this culture promotes, I mean, how can we make it illegal for people to keep their pets outside, right? I mean, like, keeping a dog chained up to a stick in the backyard. Well, but yet we find it acceptable to kick people out of their houses because they can't afford a property tax, right? Or we keep kicking people around a city. We spend energy on the police force. We spend tremendous amount of energy fighting a problem. Yet we're not putting the energy towards solving, or putting energy to solve the solutions. solve the problems, right? Implement solutions. And if we implement solutions, it removes the problems, right? That's just cause and effect. And we've hired public servants to do this for a long time, right? And I mean, if I had to hire a plumber to take care of my plumbing problem, if I had to hire them every day, I would start to think that they're milking the job. You know, they're getting fat on my dime. They're exploiting my vulnerabilities, because if I didn't know how to do plumbing and I knew nothing about what was going on, they could tell me a line of bullshit stuff about BS belief systems, you know, that professionals have conjured up in spelling and and services. I've worked for contractors that would lie to people and tell them that, oh yeah, you need this and you need this extra thing right here, and oh yep, this is going to be an upcharge, and I mean, they would just milk people like a cow. That's why I started my own business, because I was like, that's not the way I want to operate. I want people to feel like they received a real service from a professional for a fair price. You know, I want them to see efficiency in a job being completed. You know, because I mean, if somebody's got to be thinking about the job too much while they're on your dime, they're learning on your dime, right? But I mean, if a person has just done the job so many times that they've come across all the problems, and so a problem is something that's easily navigated, there's a level of efficiency there that people are willing to pay for. You know, I mean, I don't work for a minimum wage, because I feel that what I'm doing with my time is worth more than that. And what I've gathered as knowledge and skills is worth more than that, right? I mean, you got corporations charging people over $200 an hour for a technician to go out and perform a service, and that technician may be only making $30 or $40 an hour. So they're calling it overhead that they're covering with the majority of the what is really profit. They're making a lot of profit off of the people's time that are working a job, right? Now, if, say, the mechanic is working for $100 an hour locally with all of his friends and family and networks, that's how efficiency is found. Instead of them waiting for the slave owner or the shop owner to have a bay open, right? A bay. These are all terms of commerce. And then having a technician go out, a servant, right? Because they're only earning a portion of what they create. And yes, they're given the space and time to do it, but they can create their own space with the little pop-up shelter. Or maybe you want to invest in your own garage, put in your own lift, get your own tools, be responsible for yourself, set your own schedule, you know. And that's how we find freedom, is trusting in the people that we work with and engage with, and building accountability for those that aren't being self-responsible. You know, if you've entered into a contract, fulfill that contract. Be an upright, upstanding person. So, but that doesn't seem to be normal anymore. It's what is natural, is because that's what nature does. Nature is held accountable for everything. If there was a little bunny rabbit sitting on that rock there, and he wasn't paying enough attention to the hawk soaring above him, he becomes lunch for the hawk. But when the bunny pays attention and he hides underneath the sagebrush, he lasts for a long time. There was a white rabbit that lived here for, well, maybe he's still here. I don't know. Maybe he just got really, really good at hiding. But he was here for at least 2 years. And that's a long time for a little white, fluffy animal that's pretty defenseless against a hawk or an owl, to be sticking around. Anyway, natural is found in nature, and it works locally. And that's the way everyone, everywhere could be working. But we've been advertised a way that's completely inverted and perverted from that. And that's become the new normal. And that's been advertised to us through the culture and idols being broadcasted to the masses on television programming. You know, this is it's an amazing experience to be a part of, because I used to feel like I walked through hell, but now that I've returned to nature and in a heavily meditated way, I feel the calmness and peace that I can only describe as heaven. So, what if both of them are available to us right here and right now? It only takes walking through hell long enough to have the desire to grow out of it. And when you seek, you learn and you grow, and then you can be an inspiration for others. So thanks for watching. If you want to see this channel grow, please subscribe to the channel and share it. Or at least, comment, or, what do you think? Am I full of BS? Do I have a belief system in free will that is just unreasonable, and there's no way that it could work? I mean, because, I believe in free will. I believe that you should be able to control you and do what you want to do as long as you don't harm others. The first basis of the first violation of free will would be the theft of consent. So if everything is consensual, then where's the problem, right? The problem is we've seemingly have an implied consent, and we've allowed other people to make the decisions for us, and that's resulted in some people making a lot of money and a homelessness problem that's becoming an epidemic, and a depopulation through the drug use that is present. That's something that really needs some energy addressed to. But we're not focused on that. Like here in Yakima, they just spent over $5,000 on 2 trash cans. Over $5,000 on 2 trash cans. Whereas if I was given $5,000, I could provide a home for a person who's experiencing homelessness perpetually. I mean, I could just provide them a space to exist for the rest of their life. But they buy trash cans, and people cheer it on. So we get what we get until we throw a fit.